This morning, it's my pleasure to continue a conversation that was started during the Pro Youth Convention on Monday. Now, I had the opportunity to sit and be the and direct a panel of a number of dynamic young persons in Trinidad and Tobago. And even as I was able to host that discussion and moderate that panel, a number of interesting ideas and conversations would have come to the forefront. But with the limited time, there was only so much that we could discuss. But this morning, I have the pleasure of sitting with one of those panelists and a young person who has been making waves in his own industry this morning. I have the pleasure of chatting with Mr. Kyle Maloney, who is a tech ecosystem builder, a digital marketer, and the co-founder of Tech Beach Retreat. Good morning and welcome, Kyle.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me so much.
No problem. No, we started this conversation and it was just unfortunate that we couldn't really get into the nitty gritty. Specifically, because there was a limit on the amount of time that we had to have that conversation. But, if persons want to know a little bit about you, Kyle is a tech entrepreneur. As I said, he's a digital marketer and an investor. And within the last decade, he would have co founded about five technology driven companies in the industry of building sustainability, healthy food, local business search, technology business convening, and again, digital marketing. And you were also featured in a number of magazines like Forbes magazines, Essence magazine, the Huffington Post, Inc., just to name a few. But I'm not going to go off too much on what you have done. I'm going to let you really introduce yourself because this is just what is said on paper, but you can really let the people know who you are and, how you got to where you are at right now.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I pride myself on being an entrepreneur through and through. Actually, backstories. I went to CIC and then I did my undergraduate degree in aerospace engineering, but didn't spend a day in industry. I came home and I started companies to really solve problems here in the region and try and scale those solutions as big as possible. And with every company that I began, always start with, as I would have said on stage, like a really big vision in mind. And most notably, a few years ago, I started this company called First. And First started with that big vision in mind of being able to search and find any business you're looking for in the country and across the region, and see reviews and then be able to order products from them. And Digicel invested $2 million for 25% of that company back in 2014. And that's really where I gained a lot of notoriety together with my other co-founders on the team. But I really uh, pushed through there, and then it's I guess the natural course of innovation and just pushing for wanting to achieve a lot more. Um, that ended up being like one of my biggest wins and one of my biggest failures, but it ultimately ended up being my best stepping stone to what would come next, being Tech Beach. And Tech Beach really focuses on the question of how can we create a community, an environment that sees more technology companies, like what I would have started before with First, really reach to the pinnacle of their success and thrive, and then create more of these kinds of companies coming from our region. Chief Sec Farley mentioned in his speech at Pro Youth that we are big consumers of technology, right? We use all the Facebooks, we use the Airbnbs, the Ubers, all these technology platforms, but we aren't producers. And a big reason why we aren't major producers yet is because production of these applications, these large scale applications, don't happen in a silo. They happen as part of a greater ecosystem that supports their growth. And what does that ecosystem look like? It's other founders, it's investors who understand how to deploy capital in these kinds of companies. It is professionals who understand how to build and grow these companies, that are in a regular interaction with each other to bounce ideas, thoughts, opportunities to each other, that sees these things really come to fruition and grow and scale. And what we do in Tech Beach is to really try to bring all these pieces together through a series of events and a community that we've built that sees these people interacting so much more so that we can really get to that point. And so what Tech Beach is, it's a series of events that happen, major events that happen, one in Jamaica, one in Miami, one in the Virgin Islands. We've done Bermuda. We've done a series of small events in partnership with like Google, Microsoft, LinkedIn, etc., all over the US. And we're hoping that we can begin in Trinidad at some time soon. That brings all these people together, you know. And we're really working to add another piece to our overall ecosystem, that we can actually begin investing in these companies and in these people. And so
Right. And
that is it.
one of the
Yeah.
things that we hardly see, specifically within the region and among young entrepreneurs, is persons that build companies to sell. I don't
Yeah.
think a number of persons have the idea that, okay, I am building something that, can be fully invested in and sometimes even sold for its real value. Only we might say a select few understand that. How do we begin to create the mindset among young entrepreneurs that although this might be your baby, at some point to really see its value maximized comes from being able to, sell a portion of the company, possibly.
Yeah. Agreed. And that's not something that we see happen regularly within our region. And so that is the sort of culture that we're working to really inculcate and drive forward.
Right, and
Yeah.
so when it comes to Tech Beach Retreat, how can young entrepreneurs, specifically from Trinidad and Tobago, become a part of that to leverage some of their innovative tech business ideas?
Yeah. So we encourage people from Trinidad to really and Tobago to really participate in any of the events that we put on. We have one coming up in Miami in October 10 to 12, and the one in Miami really focuses on connecting Latin America, the US, and the Caribbean. And so many times we talk a lot about wanting to enter Latin American markets or enter the US, but we don't really have the relationships to enter these markets and understand how to do so. What we've done through our event in Miami is to really bring a lot of those pieces together, so that you coming in as a builder, a founder of something, you can meet a lot of the pieces of the ecosystem to really understand how to connect, how to enter, how to work with these people, and that's really a big push of why we've done Miami. In addition, you're a professional. You're a professional that has skills that you can deploy virtually anywhere. Coming to TBR Miami in particular really gives that opportunity to meet a lot of other incredible companies that have raised millions of dollars, that are scaling, and then provides opportunities for you yourself to be able to work for really interesting, cool companies. And so what we're doing is creating that space that provides a ton of opportunity that wouldn't normally exist for us here in the region. And if you don't make it to Miami in October, there's opportunity in December to make it to Jamaica, December 4 to 6. And so we run this regular calendar of really, really, really great events that provide tremendous opportunity that doesn't normally present itself every day to us here
So,
in
so is it that young persons would be given the opportunity to pitch their businesses for startup capital from a number of investors that might be present at the events?
Yeah, great question. So yes, we create something called our startup showcase. And within our startup showcase, founders are able to present their companies to the wider audience. And it's not only just for investors. People always just think that you just need the capital. We need the money. We need the money. But you need partnerships. I think that's something that we spoke about on our panel as well, right? You need different kinds of partners to work with you to help scale, because when you get the money, what then do you need, right? You need to work with other organizations to really help to scale the impact that you're trying to achieve. As well, you need talent, right? So you're getting up there, you're pitching people who want to work with you, see the opportunity as something interesting. You're able to find talent that you wouldn't normally be exposed to. And then even if you're not able to be a part of the startup showcase, we're a very close knit environment. We're only talking about 400 to 500 people here, and we deliberately keep it intimate so that the opportunity to connect with people that are meaningful increases, right? And so it's not a very diluted event where you have thousands of people and it's very difficult to really find the kinds of people that you want to connect with. But we're across 3 days, and the chances of you connecting with whoever you need to connect with is really, really high. And I mean, if you're having trouble or you want to connect with somebody in particular, reach out to me. As soon as you get there, or before you get there, you say, Kyle, I saw this person is coming, or these kinds of people. Can you help me connect? And as soon as you get there, someone on my team will plug you in, help you to connect the dots.
Sounds excellent. And you also have done a lot of digital marketing. Tell young persons how they can truly leverage social media to advance their business ideas. And, because it's not just only about building a personal brand. Building a personal brand is optimal. We know that. But when it comes to moving from that idea to conceptualization into execution, how can they really leverage social media to their benefit?
Yeah, I mean, so tying back to the conversation that we're having on Monday, right? Where we were saying that a lot of the times we utilize social media to macro. That was the word that was used, right? To just check out what our friends doing and what people that we know doing. But there's, as we know, like tremendous opportunity to reach an audience in a really meaningful way, to be able to sell your products, to be able to build your personal brand, be able to build the brand of your business, and the reflection of the content that you see on social media is a reflection of the things that you choose to follow. So I think we need, if you're being deliberate on this journey of understanding how to build your brand, build your business brand, and that kind of content, be deliberate in the kinds of content creators that you follow, so you're inspired and see very intricately how these things are done, because so many creators do such an amazing job of telling the story of the kind of equipment they use, the kind of stories they're telling, the kind of shot they're taking. And I do this all the time, and like I'm always saving pieces of content from different creators and going back to it and saying, hey, how was this shot taken? What kind of camera they use? What kind of video? How did they tell the story? Opportunities to enlighten myself on how to really do this, right? And then you package that in one way, and then you put some advertising on it and scale your ability to reach people, not just within our market, but outside our markets, outside the country, outside the region as well, and be able to build a significant audience that you would have not otherwise been able to do outside of the social media era, And so we live in such an incredible time that that our ability to reach audiences in this kind of ways is amazing and really beautiful. And so I'm excited to see more young people really leverage platforms in these kinds of ways. Top ones come to mind, obviously, are I think the entertainers within the online space have done really well to build brands for themselves and then go on and deliver products. I think a really incredible example, if you're looking at it from the business standpoint, is Certified Samson, for example. Certified Samson did a great job over the last, I think he's producing content now for almost a decade, right? So it's not anything recent. Built a phenomenal content platform on entertainment, and then take that content that he's done on entertainment and then launch Certified Scoop, right? Certified Scoop had Faris cutting ribbon, had tons of people there waiting to go in to purchase. And that's very, 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 very incredible. And that's the sort of direction you need to be taking, leveraging your brand that you've built to then come out with a product that you can sell and connect and generate significant revenues is the typical sort of big global celebrity model, right? It's like the Kim Kardashian sort of model, right? They've built so much visibility that they've done through their shows that then Kim is coming out with Skims, and Skims is doing hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue, And so I think what he's done there is follow such a beautiful, incredible model in that way, and we're seeing it coming with a number of other creators in that way. I think like Kyle Boss has a coffee shop, and so that's the way that we need to be thinking more and more.
All right. And we are going to take a break right here, and then we're going to come back and continue with this interesting conversation. See you soon, guys.
All right.
Good morning, and welcome to Good Morning Tobago. We are back and we are continuing our interesting conversation this morning. I have been chatting with Kyle Maloney, and we are talking all things youth, and we are really harping on the topic and the theme for International Youth Day this year, which is From Clicks to Progress, Youth Digital Pathways for Sustainable Development. And he, in his own light, has utilized digital pathways to create success within his own business. And there were a number of things that you shared on Monday. And one of the things that stood out to me was that you indicated that being in the right environment for what it is that you're trying to achieve is so important. You talked about moving to San Francisco, was it?
Oh yeah, correct.
Yeah,
Correct, correct.
and I connected with that because for a lot of the times I am either in Tobago or in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, and I want to understand how to really leverage being in the right environment, because sometimes you can be in the right environment, but you don't have the courage that it takes to really reach out to random people that might be in your industry or might be able to help you. I know a lot of young persons who go back and forth between Tobago and maybe Miami, or Tobago and New York, but still have not been able to leverage that opportunity of being in different places and different spaces and different environments. So how can we truly tap into being where everything is happening and not let that consume us but benefit from it?
Yeah, great question. I think I made this tweet on Twitter, or X or whatever you call it, but Twitter, some recently, where I said like, there's so many people I see here locally that if they were in a different environment, they would thrive so much. They would be doing so well, but they're here and they're so frustrated, and they're feeling like despondent and a lack of purpose. And so the really great analogy to that is that a fish, right? A fish is only thrives in water, right? And put the fish on land, if the fish will feel real frustrated, it can't go anywhere, can't do anything because it's on land, and they just don't know what it need. And the fish is just on land, and it just can't really move about too much. The land dry, and it just don't know what it missing, right? A fish that don't know about water, right? But then one day the fish end up stumbling and fall into this lake, and then the fish start to move, right? It's like, wow, this whole new environment, I never knew was possible, and look at how well I'm doing. I can do all these different things. And so think of yourself as that animal that, if you're frustrated, that isn't in the right environment, and if you're able to find the right environment and identify the environment that is needed, you're going to move so much more quickly. You're going to move in ways that are natural to your progress, because this is actually who you are. And so for me, I recognize that really early. I say, listen, if I'm building technology, I'm building a technology community, I'm building a technology conference, I want to build technology businesses, I can't be in Trinidad. I need to be where the home of technology is, right? The hub of technology globally is Silicon Valley. And so I was blessed to have really good friends like two good friends in San Francisco. Started off with, right? One that give me opportunity to stay by her house, and then the next one is a good friend of mine that was plugged into the ecosystem, and I took that and went from two friends to partnerships with Google. Google is our title partner at both our events. Partnerships with Meta, Microsoft, and so that came because I was very deliberate in saying I need to get out of this environment that really isn't conducive to my progress. And so when you're stepping into these new environments, the hack is find events and communities like what we built with Tech Beach to meet people and get that soft introduction where people are coming to these events to meet people. So going up to a random person in a coffee shop or sending a random email is less likely to get a response that's positive. But if you go up to a random person in an event where people come to meet people, you're more likely to get a really positive, open response. And so that's the hack. The hack is go into the cities and the spaces and the countries where you think are really conducive and beneficial to you, and find the events that bring the kinds of people I want to meet together. Go to those events and be very open to connect, introduce yourselves, and engage always first with the mindset of asking the question, how can I help? How can I contribute to this person in any kind of way? Right? And you pour small nuggets of help and support to people, and those nuggets begin to come back to you in really incredible ways. And that sort of mindset and energy is what we've led with at TBR, where we constantly pour positive energy and opportunities and opening doors and connections and helping in any way that we can, so that the community does that sort of naturalness and continues to help each other and help us as we continue to grow. And so that's the process there. That's the process.
But then it takes some level of confidence to, let's say, for instance, buy a ticket, go to the Cannes Lions International Festival for Creators,
Yeah.
and, knowing that you're a newbie to the festival or just to the industry, and feeling like, okay, a bit out of your league when you step into these conferences, or, you go and you are just starting and everybody seems like they have already had it figured out. They already have investors. They already have everything going. Because I remember someone invited me last year and I was like, well, I don't really have anything to show. So I don't feel like I want to be there until I can go and be one of the presenters there. Sometimes you have that mindset, like, where you see yourself. That you have
Yeah.
the capability to be there. But in the meantime, how do we navigate those spaces to be able to benefit from that?
Yeah, what you described is something called imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah.
You feel like you're not worthy of being in these spaces because I don't have. And what I tell you to do is that sort of uncomfortable feeling, everybody has it at some point in time, right? And it's important to push past that imposter syndrome, right? Put yourself in those uncomfortable environments that you think that you need this and this and this and this to enter the space, but then you enter and you realize that a lot of the times people don't connect across their titles, they connect across the things that they're passionate about as people. And you realize that there is more opportunity to connect with people on a human level rather than just I am a whatever fill in the blank senior person and this is what I do. But there's opportunity to connect on humanness in terms of the things that you're passionate about, the things that you care about, the experiences that you've had, and build genuine relationships with people on a human level that then has opportunity to translate into opportunities for yourself, for your business, and the things that you're trying to do. And that energy and that ethos of connecting on a human level is really what we pride ourselves on in the community that we've built at TBR, right? And so bringing it back to us a little bit is that we have such a really no hierarchy, low barriers to entry environment where no matter who you are, where we brought like the founder of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, one year. Jack didn't have a VIP room. You didn't get taken away and whisked away behind the audience and wasn't able to engage. You went from sitting down in the audience to on stage to back engaging in the audience. And so it doesn't matter if you're a billionaire and CEO of two publicly traded companies, or you're a guy now starting up. You're gonna get to engage with people in the environment that we've built in such a very core human way, right? Where your experience, whether it is, no matter what it is you're doing or building, has value to contribute to the space because it's deep, based on the fact that you've spent so much time doing it, and lead with that sense of confidence of what you've done, and the value that you can bring into the world, and be open to the fact that, yeah, you're here because you want to grow, you want to meet more people, you want to do more, you want to achieve more. And so you're not standing on a false ground of accomplishment. You're standing on the ground of where you are, and the reason you're here is acknowledging that you want to do more. And so stand on the ground that you've built, whatever that ground is, that series of experiences that you've had, that work that you've done. Stand on that ground, and no matter how small you might feel that ground is, it's still valuable into a space that doesn't have that necessarily, And so lead with that, and step into those spaces, and you'll realize that the perceptions that you had all the time coming in are really different to what the reality might end up being.
And I'm glad that you touched on that, because immediately I started thinking from a policy direction. There are a number of different avenues to gain startup capital locally. Might not be much,
Mhm.
but there are a number of programs, grants, such as the BDU grant and the REACH grant here in Tobago that young entrepreneurs can benefit from to, help leverage startup capital. But I
Mhm.
immediately started thinking that it is beneficial to these young entrepreneurs that maybe, let's say, for instance, the person that wins after, the entire cohort has gone through the training, gets the opportunity to go to these big international conferences and see how, other successful persons in their industry would or continue to do it, and continue to allow even their companies to go public, because there are persons who feel like, okay, well, I'm into fashion and design, how do I get a company to go to become publicly traded and sell, shares and stuff like that in the company. But going to these international conferences, seeing how, as for instance you indicated, Kim Kardashian would have moved from just being her own personal brand to now having a multi-million-dollar company in Skims, and how they can begin to think on that international level and having that global impact, as opposed to simply, I just want to start a business and market it on social media for persons who are within my direct reach. So from a policy perspective, that's just one idea, but what do you think can be done to facilitate young entrepreneurs thinking globally as opposed to locally?
Yeah, I think I think exposure is everything. Um, you can't, on average, people don't dream for something that they've never seen. You know, think about, like, when you're a kid, and they ask you what you want to be when you grow up. The things you want to be are reflective of things that you've seen. Like, naturally, kids want to be a policeman because there's every day they go to school, they see the police, and if the police, they have positive interactions with the police, they say, I want to be a policeman, or I want to be a fireman, or you're reading a book and they're seeing opportunities of doctor, pilot, or whatever. Yeah, I like that. I want to be that, right? And that experience is actually still part of the greater experience that we have as adults, where even even as adults, we only aspire to be and do the things that we've been exposed to, right? Like, so we'd have had more experiences as we grow, and then we say, okay, well, now you want to be something more specific. Let's say a digital marketer, and that wouldn't have been something I would have said as like a 5-year old, right? It's something that you might say as a 18-year old, because now you have those experiences. But then it's still that you're still drawing from those experiences that you've had to that point. And so my point is that how do we change the mindset of what to be and what what they want to do is really have these spaces, like what has been done with Pro Youth and what is going on with the Ministry of Youth in Trinidad with their 40 under 40 program, which I think is really cool, is bringing so many youth together that are from so many different spaces to really open up the minds of the younger people, to show where the opportunities exist, right? And show that there are so many more opportunities to be successful in so many different spaces that might resonate deeply with you. And so that you can begin following and chasing after that dream and that path at a younger age because it resonated more really with you. And so it really boils down to exposure and being deliberate about creating more opportunities for people to see the kinds of careers that are possible from creating content and somebody looking at it and just laughing, going back to the like Samson or Kyle case, right? Somebody, the person not seeing the business side of it, right? Like they just engaging with the content and just laughing, kiki, kiki, kya, 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 but not realizing that what they're doing there is building up a significant, tremendous following that they're working to then leverage to release products and build products on it. And then from the products they release, they're going to do more products, and then they'll have capital to then become investors, like, and that's like the trajectory that, if you're in a business mindset, you're seeing it happening. And it's really cool to see that it's actually happening right now in our country and in our region in this way, And so the answer to it really is consistent, deliberate exposure from our government seeing that. And it's really cool that we're seeing that happen now. And I want to see it continue to build on that and having that level of exposure occur, not just from these events, but going into the schools and creating programs so that they have those opportunities to see what is possible. And the reality of what is happening right now, especially within the technology space that is so cross-cutting, is that the jobs and the opportunities that will exist for the youth don't even exist right now. If someone said when like 15 years ago that they wanted to create content, like they would say, okay, that's madness, like Facebook, but now so many platforms, the platforms evolved so much that now this is an actual opportunity that exists, and so the platforms will continue to evolve. And as the platforms evolve, the opportunities to do incredible things will evolve, and so, yeah.
Let's going back a bit to the idea of giving youth exposure and seeing what is done in the rest of the world. Now, social media has allowed us to be able to tap into that without even getting on a plane. We can see what's happening on the other side of the world. But even when the youths get these types of opportunities for that global exposure, now we saw that the Pro Youth Convention on Monday did an excellent job of creating that type of exposure by exposing young persons to a number of different pathways, whether it be creativity, finance, education, or technology through that convention. But you see a huge brain drain still happening, where when persons do get the opportunity to go out, they don't come back because they feel like what they have to contribute is not appreciated, or they aren't avenues or industries that have been created to feed into the skills that they have now acquired. How do we, from a policy perspective, create platforms for these persons to seamlessly make a transition back to contribute?
Yeah, good question, right? I think the brain drain of our parents' time is different to the brain drain of our time. And what I mean by that is that in our parents' time, people get up and leave, go to another country, and a lot of them, they don't come back. Like a lot of them, you meet them up in New York or Toronto. When's the last time you went to Trinidad? Boy, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I didn't go back there in so long. I was so happy to leave, and yeah, they don't come back. I think the reality of our time is that we have such high mobility between countries and cities now that if someone leaves, they come back a lot more often than before. So that's one. Two, because there is opportunity to connect virtually, and contribute virtually in really tangible, meaningful ways. That the brain drain is not the brain drain of our parents' time. And so, what we need to be doing now is actively building railways to leverage our diaspora globally to be able to contribute to the work that we're doing in the region. And quite frankly, I think people leaving can be a net positive if we're able to build those railways, because people leaving means that they're across there having relationships that they would have never had over here that they can leverage. They're making more money than they would have made over here that they can contribute through investing, through doing different things. That if we're able to build these railways to connect our global diaspora, I think it will be a tremendous net positive for us as a region, right? But we struggle with building those railways, and so once again, coming back to the work that we do, so that people understand the impact that we're having, is that through events that like what we've done, like we've become a beacon for our diaspora to connect at home, right? Where we see people that work in really incredible jobs in technology globally tapping into our region through the events that we have through Tech Beach, right? So we've had people that are like senior directors at Twitter, senior directors at Microsoft, chief leaders in some of the best technology companies, and just businesses that leverage technology in general, tapping into the region through our events. And so having these kinds of communities that bring together policy makers, founders, investors together on a global scale creates new and unique opportunities for us to build and transform a region that was never there before. And so quite frankly, I see the people leaving and going not as necessarily a bad thing if we're able to build those pathways for them to contribute. You know, I think quite frankly, it is almost expanding our capacity globally, because now we have people that are all over the world that are doing things, that are now having all of these relationships that we would have never had and they would have never had if they were here. That if we can only build these pathways for them to connect, man, it'll be absolutely transformative,
Right.
and so, yeah.
So, what about those young persons who have those big tech ideas and they're listening and they're hearing you talking about having relationships with Meta, i.e., Facebook, Instagram, X, Microsoft, Google? How can they now tap into that to be able to get their ideas or in the hands of the right persons? Can they reach out to Tech Beach Retreat and say, hey, I want to come to the retreat, I heard you talking about some of these individuals, I really want to be able to pitch my idea to them?
Yeah, man. Don't need to reach out. Go to the website, techbeach.net, get a ticket, come. Right? The opportunity only presents itself if you're in the room, right? There's only so much I could do in terms of sending an email and saying, hey, Mr. John, speak to Miss Jennifer, or whatever, like the authenticity of the interaction would be so much less because you're not in the room to engage with the people. So I encourage you to get up, come out to your comfort zone, step into these spaces so that you can meet these kinds of people, and the doors will begin to open in ways that you could have never imagined.
Right, and let's go back again when it talks to digital pathways, when we talk about from clicks to progress. When it comes to really not just using social media to go through to scroll aimlessly, but to really leverage social media to advance your cause for progress, whether it be your own business or to advocate for, particular minority groups to be adequately represented, or it just has to do with, pushing an agenda for positivity. Talk to the young persons about really leveraging that new digital technology that we have at our fingertips.
Yeah, man. I think this is like summarizing everything that I've said, right? Is that we live in such an incredible time where, from your home, you can build a brand that impacts people globally. I think one of the best examples was my sister. My sister, her name is Samara Maloney, and Samara lived with me, right? And Samara, from her room, began focusing on building, creating content, and telling a story of her life in such a really authentic way that people were pulled in by her genuine authenticity, you know, and took that and began actively creating content around fashion, lifestyle, and took that and really took the energy and ethos that we have as a family to say dream big and say, listen, I don't want to just work with, let's say, Aldo in Trinidad. I want to work with Aldo globally, you know, and had the audacity to reach out to so many of these bigger brands and get positive responses. Like, I would never forget she like doing a unboxing, and it was an unboxing of Fenty Beauty, right? That's Rihanna's brand. And I remember messaging her and saying, who in Trinidad distributing Fenty? She was like, boy, why are you so rude and so disrespectful? Why you don't think Fenty will send me this? And then she sent me the screenshots. Hey, Samara, we're so happy to partner with you on this. And I sent me the receipts. I was like, oh my God, Samara, incredible, great job. And then she sent me the receipts of her payment. I was like, totally blown, and so every time now she get one of these global partnerships, she just take pride in just sending me the receipts, like I'll never forget another one being Aldo, right? Like the Aldo US brand reaching out to her and telling her like, hey, when you get to Aldo in New York, go and do a shopping spree in New York, kind of thing, and so like the reason why that even happened is because she said to herself from the onset, like, I don't care about just doing something on a local level. I care about building a brand that can attract people globally. And that she did, I was in Tobago and people telling me about her. I was in Grenada and people coming up to me and hugging me and telling me about her. In Miami, people telling me about her. Like, I was totally blown to really see the reach and impact that she'd been able to have in such a really short space of time. And that there is the summary of what is possible. That there's the summary of what is possible.
All right. Well, I mean, you said a mouthful, and as we wrap up the discussion, tell persons again about that tech beach retreat and why, even as a Tobagonian, it's important for you to catch a flight, catch a boat, do whatever you need to do to get to this conference this year, whether it be in Miami or in Jamaica. Because if you really want to leverage those global partnerships to move from local to global business, the Tech Beach Retreat is the place to be.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Right. And so I want to remind people that you don't need to be a quote unquote techie to be a part of what we're doing. Right? The reason that we focus our brand on technology is not for designers and developers, and it's only a space for people that are techies. Technology is a cross-cutting thing. It's impacting everybody. Every day you wake up and you engage with technology, on average, the first thing people do when they wake up is grab for their phone, right? You're immediately engaging with technology. Technology is no longer a fringe thing for certain kinds of people. Everybody's using technology. And so because of this cross-cutting nature, you need to understand how you can leverage the technology, the social platforms, to not just be a consumer of it, but leverage it for growth, build your brands and your products or whatever through these social platforms. You need to understand how to leverage your website, how to leverage emails. You receive so many emails, email marketing from so many brands. How is that done? We've created a space and environment that really allows for you to understand and connect with the people that have done incredible things in these spaces, that you're not gonna meet on an everyday basis in Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah, that's just it.
Much, Cal Maloney, and we wanna, also send love out there to you and your family. And we know that you have a gaping hole in your family now that you have lost your sister, but we know that you carry that energy with you wherever you go, and that even as you're here, you are representing adequately, and she would have been extremely proud. Now, guys, we want to thank you so much for sticking with us this morning. We want to thank you for your likes, your shares, and your comments, and for enjoying this engaging youth discussion this morning on the topic, the theme for the International Youth Day, which was from clicks to progress, those youth sustainable pathways for success. And we want to thank you so much for that. I want to thank you for doing all that you have been doing to make Tobago Updates the #1 broadcaster here on the island. And if you do want to connect with Kyle outside, you can go to his website, you can go to his Instagram, Kyle Maloney, and you can reach out and be a part of that retreat. I know I'm going to be there, so I don't know what you're going to do, but I want you to have a great day. Thank you so much. People